guys! So let's see. We are on week 11 of The Women of the Bible and You. Right, this week, Vashti, a prequel to Esther, who we've been talking about. It's in Esther 2, verse 1. After these things, when the anger of King Xerxes had abated, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what had been decreed against her. It should have been his highest moment as king, but instead the shadow of disappointment and sobering reality of divorce hung over his head. For 6 months, King Xerxes had been celebrating his wealth and power with lavish banquets for all the nobles in the Persian Empire. His wife, Queen Vashti, hosted her own amazing soiree for the women of Susa, the capital, inside the royal palace. As grand as this was, the king wanted more. Deep into his merriment, and after much drinking, he invited his queen to come before him and all his drunk friends to show off her beauty, likely naked, wearing only her crown. According to Catherine Dube Secondfield in Just Wives, Vashti refused. King Xerxes was livid. Embarrassed publicly by his defiant wife, he felt the social pressure to do something. Advised by his top counselors, he not only dismissed her as queen, but also sent messengers throughout the empire to declare that this kind of wifely disobedience would not be tolerated by any man, certainly not the king. But later, in his quiet moments, the king thought about Queen Vashti. When we read this week's verse, we cannot be sure what he was thinking or feeling. Did he have regrets? Did he love and miss her? If we allowed Queen Vashti to speak for herself, what would she say? We don't have much to go on. We don't even know the exact reason she refused to come when the king called her. For the lessons God wants us to learn through Queen Vashti, perhaps it's best that we are never told, because we are given a chance to imagine them for ourselves. The first lesson is that no is a complete sentence. It requires no accompanying explanation or validation. The truth is, it didn't matter why the queen refused to come. What mattered was she wasn't coming. She gave herself the power to make a choice for herself, and she was at peace with the choice she made. She wasn't concerned with who wouldn't like it or what the fallout would be. Her no meant no. By acting with this kind of boldness and conviction, Queen Vashti single-handedly upset the balance of power in the empire, forcing men to step back and think about what kind of society this would be and who they would be as men. They actually had a crisis meeting to discuss the matter at length. You'll find that in Esther 1:13-21. Even though they chose patriarchy over equality, it is significant that through her simple act of resistance, Vashti unwittingly forced her hand and demanded that they choose. She had dared to defy the king, and in doing so changed the world. Her resistance was met with severe punishment, but it also set an important precedent. She had proven that a queen could defy the king and live, opening the door for Esther to later go to King Xerxes without being called and fulfill God's plan to save her people. And this is the most important lesson we can learn from Vashti. Sometimes it may cost you a lot to stand up for what you believe. However, there is grace in it. If, for Vashti, appearing naked in front of her husband and his officials was inconsistent with her values, then being dismissed for refusing to do so was the best thing that could have happened to her. Having to live in an environment where your convictions, voice, and personhood are not respected is not to live at all. Moreover, we won't also be given credit for righteous action. In fact, no one in the story, not even the narrator, celebrates Vashti's bold action, which God uses to put a divine plan into motion. That task is left for us to do today, in telling of and reflecting on the story. If no one ever calls our names for the good we've done, we should choose what we know to be right and feel good about that, regardless of the consequences. When you act on your personal convictions, know that you are setting a powerful example for those who run alongside you and those who come after you. Think about a time when you took a stand but suffered for it. How did you feel at that time? Would you do it again? Why or why not? What did you learn from the experience? In what ways is Queen Vashti a model for courageous leadership? Does she inspire you? If so, how? All right, guys, everybody have a great night.